Welcome back to another edition of the Furlock Can't Remember What He Buys Because He's Old and Senile Losi Vintage Projects. Wow. So this morning I made a quick video showing a box full of vintage Losi stuff that I was going to turn into a couple of JrXTs and JrXT. Pulled this out of the box and realized that the broken hinge pin had magically been replaced and repaired. And that really threw my old man brain for a loop, because I had no memory whatsoever of replacing that pin. But I did remember making a video about this car. I have the video of the Shelf Queen JrXPro and the long story about how the JrXPro was my first race quality kit, etc. and so on. And then I decided that I would do another video about this car and the changes I made to it for the vintage class for off-road racing. So I went back to watch that video, and in that video I talk about my Kyosho Big Brute project and how I had been getting ripped off on eBay, being facetious, but how I was buying stuff on eBay for the Big Brute, and decided while I was on eBay shopping for Kyosho Big Brute parts, I would pick up a pin kit for this vehicle. So I had no memory of picking up that pin kit, no memory of repairing this car, but lo and behold, I did. The funny part is, I just purchased a set of steering blocks because my Pro SE has a RC10 steering block on there. So I thought, well, I'm doing these vintage projects, I'll get those parts and I'll repair that at the same time. And while I was purchasing that, I decided to get a pin kit for this, which I already had. So whatever. This video is to show you how little it takes to actually turn a JrXPro into a JrXT. So I'm going to do that, and it's going to be super quick and super dirty because, for now at least, I'm going to keep the Pro rear suspension. I'm going to keep the Pro tower, and I'm going to keep the H-arms as opposed to installing the 5-link suspension. I probably will install a 5-link suspension at a later date, but for now, if I wanted to run this as a truck, it would be quite simple. So we're going to start with removing the wheels. So these are 5-spoke JrX2 style wheels. They're meant to be a direct bolt on to fit on the pin. So the old school way of doing it was simply a pin through the axle, as opposed to hex or hub. So these wheels are modern wheels, but designed to be a direct bolt on to use the pin, and in 2.2. so that you can use modern tires. These are M4 hole shots. So the front are also M4 hole shots on the wide JrX2 wheels. And again, direct bolt on. They're meant to take the bearings inside the rim. So these will just, they're going to go on the JrX2 track car. Who cares if they're not orange? They're JrX2 style, they're direct bolt on, and they've already got good tires on them. Oh, my light quit on me, whatever. Oh, bearing on the axle. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do to the front is put the bumper on, the JrXT bumper. It has not been chewed up, so I can actually adjust the height of the body. Ideally, you want it low to reduce the center of gravity. So we got the bumper was actually taken off of here already. I did talk earlier about doing a trade with Terry Dunn for some JrXPro parts in exchange for JrXT parts. So that's why the bumper is missing off of this. and I gave him a JrXT shock tower. Sorry, JrXPro shock tower, and he gave me the JrX2/JrXT shock tower. Another reason why I want to stick with this shock tower, even if I go with a 5-link suspension, I'll have to see how the geometry and stuff is. But I want to use that shock tower because I want to use those team associated shocks that are on the back of this car. I don't want to have to switch back to vintage Losi shocks that are a pain in the butt to bleed because they don't have bleeder screws. They fill from the bottom. So bleeding is a pain in the butt. And of course, like all vintage shocks, they will leak. So 4 screws. There would normally be a bumper on the front of the JrXPro. There's not. But now there is a JrXT bumper. Oh, it's got a little split back there, so I want to be careful to not over tighten those screws. All right, now take our JrXT wheels, drop some bearings into them. Using needle nose pliers on these front wheel nuts seems a little hobo, but I don't have a socket right now to get in there. And I'm using actual aluminum nylon lock nuts instead of the plastic nylon nuts. All right, that's one. Unfortunately, no body yet, but Team Blue Groove out of Ontario, Canada, they seem to be the industry standard for vintage bodies. Another body, reproduction body place I've gone to is Penguin. Penguin is over in the UK somewhere, and I've gotten a vintage RC10 B5 body from them, but every other vintage body has been from Team Blue Groove. And there's also a company in Ontario that makes reproduction stickers. I've gotten JrXPro box art stickers from them. I've gotten Kyosho Big Brute stickers from them. Okay, we're almost home. Next. So I have, again, a proper, correct shock tower, but speed control is already double-sided taped onto that tower. That tower works with those shocks. I definitely want to go 5-link because I want it to be kind of authentic. But for now, I mean, I just, in this short video, converted this into a JrXT. It's literally that easy. Apparently I've taken the pinion off. So I'm going to need a pinion. I'm going to need a receiver. You're going to need that wheel nut. There it is. Awesome. Even has the 440 hardware on there. I brought out a container of 440 hardware just in case, but nope, no need. Just throw that anywhere, that's fine. This has been trimmed a little bit, and that's totally fine. Just going to take the mounting hardware off. I've never seen a gearbox that didn't have the mount molded into the top for this body mount, and I always wondered about stuff like that. When they designed this gearbox and started to sell the JrX2, did they know this was coming? Because why would you put that on there? It's meant to hold the truck mount, but the truck didn't exist for a couple of years after the car. Yet every model of JrX2 I've ever seen, no matter how early, the gearbox had that section molded into the casing to accommodate this truck mount. Curious. I'm sure somebody knows. Of course somebody knows. Gil, if you're watching, hit me up. There. Things are a little tight. Trying to get the washer over the bolt. Of course the bolt slid. Of course I dropped the washer. I am not known for my manual dexterity or coordination. Matter of fact, I have a reputation for dropping small hardware. I used to work part-time at a gunsmith after my day job, and I spent a lot of time on the floor looking for parts. Here we go. Now there's an alignment issue right now on the right side, so I'm only going to just snug it up so I can move a little bit to get that into the correct position to get this bolt to go through. There we go. Oh man, now I gotta buy a body sooner rather than later, because for all intents and purposes I just built the JrXT. And I'll have to take pictures and send them to Mr. Dunn from the RC Roundtable podcast. I had said in one of my previous videos where I talked about getting these parts that Terry and Fitz were the members of the cast of that podcast that didn't just fly, they also did vintage RC. And sure enough, Fitz was talking about vintage RC stuff, to me a grasshopper, and trying to use modern batteries on it. It's quite interesting. So there we have it. That's it. You could run that and call it good. Again, I would like to put on the 5-link suspension just to keep it a bit more authentic. So that'll mean the arms are coming off, the hubs are coming off, all those trailing links are going on. But like I said, I don't want to give up those shocks. So I might, oh, I don't know. We'll see. For now, there you go. I just built the JrXT out of a JrXPro, because essentially, I don't know what came first. The JrXPro Performance. Yeah, it was a JrX Performance package that you would add to your JrX2. And the most important part of that package was the longer chassis. So you had the JrX2, then you could buy the JrX Performance package, which turned your JrX2 into a JrXPro. And then you could actually buy a JrXPro. But before the Pro came out, the truck came out. So Did the truck come out with the longer chassis and they introduced it as part of the performance package for the JrX2? Or did the performance package come out and then they decided to do a JrXT? The performance package gave you the longer front shocks, the longer tower, the rear tower, the longer rear shocks, and the H-arms. That's what the differences was between a JrX2 and a JrXPro. The biggest difference, the rear suspension. Longer suspension, front and back, longer chassis, longer shocks, front and back, different towers, front and back, longer chassis, and then H-arms as opposed to the 5-link trailing suspension. So, wow, look at that slop. Of course, a lot of that slop is actually in the servo. Oh yeah, that's an old school FP148. Whatever, it is what it is. So, ADD, kids, ADD. I made that little intro video this morning showing what some of my vintage projects were going to be, and then I was upstairs looking at old videos that I made, and it suddenly dawned on me, hey, you know what? I could make a JrXT in no time flat. It'd be done in half the time if I would just shut up and work. But, you know, here we are. I hope you like that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye for now.